Hello, what's up? Welcome back. I hope your day is going great when you come across this page and this message. Today's topic is all about why is Gen Z and millennials defining or redefining success in 2026? Not only why, but how is it changing in how the younger generations are coming into the workforce? And what does that mean for everyone else and business on a whole? Stick around if that's a topic you think is interesting while I share my screen with you and we go into my blog, we chat about these interesting topics, and here we go. Upcoming in our next episode, as an introduction, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you get to stay on top of things and get the latest news from us when it comes out. Everything we recommend from a nutritionist is always generic advice, and so it is important that you book a private appointment or get a doctor's approval before integrating any of our recommendations. Even though they're solid recommendations, we observe that each human body type is all unique, and therefore you're going to need a recommendation. So next topic is all about what is feeding your microbiome, and I'm so excited to go into that. But today I figure this is where we're at. All right, why Gen Z and millennials are redefining success in 2026. Before I get into that, I'm going to share with you that right now I found this wonderful supplement. I'm such a fan of gummy bear supplements, and this one is called Women's Multivitamin Gummies. The brand is Nature's Craft, rooted in nature, backed by science. This flavor is orange, cherry, and strawberry. I recommend women's wellness gummies for all women because who doesn't love a sweet treat in a gummy? It's all about portion control with our treats and desserts, right? But no, this is rich in vitamin A, vitamin C, D, E, B6, folate, vitamin B12, biotin, pantothenic acid as calcium D pantothenate, vitamin B12 as cyanocobalamin, iodine, zinc, and sodium. Okay, so these have no artificial colors or flavors, it's all natural. And I love this as an invention for humanity because back in the day, there was a huge vitamin C deficiency, and that's where that disease scurvy plagued many societies from like the days with Christopher Columbus and stuff. People underestimate the, oh my gosh, the value and benefit of gummy bear vitamins. So always take your vitamins if you want to stay healthy and on top of things. Gosh, I feel like I have to clear my throat. Oops. Okay. So, success in 2026 doesn't look like a corner office, a luxury car, or working until burnout. For Gen Z and millennials, success has been rewritten. Not because they're lazy, not because they're Nepo babies and entitled, but because they grew up watching broken systems collapse in real time. Now, there's a real art to listening to this generation after they are fresh graduates. What do they think of the world? What do they think of the workplaces? And how are they adapting into the existing systems? But also, what ideas do they have to bring to the table that we can learn from? I feel like I need water or something. What is this? I took some medicine earlier. I almost had a cup of tea. Anyways, if you hear me clearing my throat, don't mind me. The end of the old success script. Previous generations were sold a simple formula. Work harder, stay longer, climb higher. Gen Z and millennials saw the cost. They watched. Burnout became normalized, mental health deteriorated, productivity disconnected from well-being, wealth concentrate without fulfillment. Imagine watching from the younger generations, a generation that is so on the burnout, all work metrics, making money, carrying generations, carrying families, and then ending up having to invest or spend a lot of that money and profits on medical recovery from that burnout system. This is where the health professionals come in to measure the cost of building wealth without prioritizing health. Because you build all of the wealth and then that money goes into health, is the system we have watched time and time again. And it does make us question, like, is there a better way to do this? So in response, they didn't opt out of ambition, they redefined it. Success in 2026 is all about control, not status or status. Tomato, tomato. For Gen Z lifestyle, 2026 means agency. Agency over time, energy, location, health, identity. Owning your calendar is now more valuable than owning assets that drain your life. As a coach, we teach you how to own your calendar because many times this is what we notice most humans need to improve. Freedom is indeed the new luxury. Freedom could be freedom of mind, thoughts. It could be body freedom in the sense of being active to go to the gym. Freedom, discipline is freedom from one of my favorite authors, Brendan Burchard. We agree that if you're a disciplined person and you work on routines and a strict schedule, that is indeed freedom, right? Because you get to plug into your calendar, your health routines, spending time with your family, your working hours, when you're getting errands done. Okay, this is freedom, but it's in an organized fashion that reduces potential burnout. And the more organized systems in your life that work for you, the higher levels you can operate at. Millennials, their values for 2026 include purpose with precision. Millennials mature during financial instability, platforms, revolutions, and digital overload. In 2026, their values have crystallized. Meaningful work over performative hustle. Income diversity over single source dependency. Wellness as infrastructure, not indulgence. Ethical alignment with brands, employers, and investments. They still want access, but must support life, not consume it. It must support life, okay? Gen Z lifestyle 2026 designed, not default. Gen Z doesn't accept systems as is, they redesign them. Their approach to life includes AI-assisted productivity, online booking systems, easy money transfer apps. We love Apple Pay. Every single bank needs to have the ability to store your bank cards in your phone because wallets and cards and all of these things are sometimes cluttered. When you have multiple bags and you have work things to carry, your smart device is now your wallet also, and all of your bank cards and bank accounts need to be stored in your device for quick money transfers and transactions. No more delays. Okay? That's not what Gen Z accepts. Digital minimalism with strategic tech use, fluid career paths, and income stacking. They optimize for quality of life, not just optics. The rise of conscious ambition. Here is the shift most people misunderstand. Gen Z and millennials are not anti-success. They're anti-burnout success. They pursue high performance with recovery built in. financial growth without moral compromise, visibility without constant exposure, achievement without identity erosion. Ambition didn't disappear, it evolved. Wellness is now a status symbol. In 2026, being calm, clear, and healthy signals power. True influence looks like stability throughout the day, emotional intelligence under pressure, and boundaries that protect creativity, energy, focus, and guarding those power hours of really true human productivity. A nervous system that can sustain success long term. Exhaustion is no longer impressive, regulation is. There's only 24 hours in a day, and a lot of the times there's so much internet and so little time. There are people to see, places to go, internet to scroll, articles to read, entertainment to watch, planning. There's so much that each human wants to do. And many people say there are not enough hours in the day. There's just not enough time. The reality is we all have more than enough time. It is an art and a skill to learn how to optimize your schedule and your time efficiently so that you know how to get what you need done in a proactive manner. If people cannot respect that process, those boundaries of how stuff gets done at a high level and high level of speed and repetition, they don't deserve access to you or to be on your team because they will slow you down. These are high standards because the science proves that this is just what works. When studying the best brands who are there consistent and long term, there are certain attributes that each brand carries forward for performance. These are non-negotiables. These are the highest levels of operation. Technology is a tool, not a trap. Unlike previous generations, Gen Z and Millennials don't worship technology. They instrumentalize it. AI is used to automate low-value work, reduce cognitive overload, create leverage without overextension, enable location independent income. And the goal is not scale at all costs. It is sustainable advantage scale where you can profit at sustainable advantages that can last and outlast any competition. Okay, because when it comes to building a brand, you need to be able to communicate clearly what you need, who you need it from, and that needs to be able to be a process that gets done from conversation to documentation to signatures, legal processes, logistics, ordering, delivering, setup, boom, bang, done, setup, full stop. There's no 5-year delay ball game, blah, blah, blah. This is not going to work, blah, blah, blah. These are systems that just work. If you're not listening to these processes in 2026, you really need to go back to school. I invite you to look at some books of business, entrepreneurship, and scalability to see that these companies that are generating the most profits, whether they're in the supplement industry, food and beverage, real estate, they're just some businesses that are worth it and that have the best cash flow and returns and are good investments that are lucrative and that just work. Okay. Obviously, there are some hits and miss, but there's some products that the market is always just going to be buying. And if you can do it better or the best, then you need to be doing it. Success is redefined, a 2026 snapshot. Success now looks like financial security without burnout, work that aligns with personal values. As any mentor will say to you, the first thing you need to know when you're going into business is to identify your core values. If you don't know your core values and your business core values, again, go back to study because once you know those values, that is the brain and heart of your whole organization. You need to live by those values. You stand by those values, and those are your non-negotiables. Value-based business and ethical business leadership is the fundamental beginning stage for any entrepreneur or personal brand. Time for health, creativity, relationships is always prioritized because we understand these are the attributes that fuel the tank to be able to operate at the highest levels. If these are not prioritized in your schedule every single quarter, you are setting yourself up for deep, deep failure. Okay? You may think as an athlete that failure from an external source looks like that one time you were now learning to do a backflip and you had to start from the beginning with just a backward roll. And then you had to learn how to do a bridge. And then you had to learn how to do a back handspring. And then you had to learn how to do a round off. And then you had to learn how to do a round off into a back handspring. And then you had to learn how to do back tucks into a pit. And then you had to learn how to do a skip with the round off back handspring back flip. And then you had to go to the trampoline, and then you had to learn backflips there, and then you had to learn how to do a double backflip, and then you have to learn how to do a run with a round off, back handspring, double back tuck, land, stick it, smile, and get your hands up for a 10 out of 10 performance from the judges. So while one person or a small-minded community may observe your training systems as failure, in order for you as a professional to take your level 1 backward roll into a round off, back handspring, double back, stick it, land performance, there are certain requirements and training necessary that you may not get the routine every single time. But as soon as you do, it is in your blood that you will stick that routine after you master it through training time and time again. For each show, each competition, these are the very important attributes to remember. Okay? That is how we as performers, pro athletes, and entrepreneurs are able to see clearly while other people observe with commentary who cannot even do a backward roll. Okay? Now, the ability to step away without everything collapsing is an art of the top skill sets of the best entrepreneurs because we know as coaches, when it comes to your brand, it's very important to see the difference between, I have to charge this. It's very important to see the difference between separating yourself and who you are in your identity to knowing you're a person, but you're also a person within your organization. So you cannot think, oh, I am my company, I am my brand all the time. No, you are a person, but you are able to wear the outfit of you in your company image and you in your brand image. And that is a fundamental part of health and wellness, which is good for your mental as well. And it is very important to understand how that system works because once you can separate that, you will be able to clearly identify how to delegate better in a big regard to many of you being able to scale your organization, reduce burnout, and improve a lot of your systems because there's nothing worse than being stuck in a system where you cannot delegate, you're overworked, your time is not being scheduled properly, and people are demanding more and more of you to get to that next level of business, and you're not mastering these skills or these perspectives, right? So it's not always about doing more, it's about doing what matters, but better. Why does this redefinition matter? Gen Zs and millennials are not just changing lifestyle trends because they are. I mean, They are a whole other breed. These youth, they are so healthy, they're so fit, health conscious. It's really remarkable to watch them perform and see what they're into and their lifestyles. And they're very much more into self-care and slowing down than that burnout party phase that we saw all the millennials go through. This younger generation is not like that, like at all. They're barely even interested in that culture. Okay, so you have to keep up with where the next generation of spenders are going to be spending because you don't want us to be starting businesses and expecting consumer behavior from the older generations who, yes, they might still continue on these trends, but more so as families evolve with their young kids, they more likely do what the kids want to do more so than what they did in their single days, you know? That's just how society works. Leadership expectations, corporate culture, consumer behavior, investment priorities, wellness economies. Many of the younger generation are now wanting to manage their family estates, whether that is in family office, properties, organizing the rentals for their parents, estates, et cetera, and working within those organizations, or if in the upcoming brands like TikTok is now a hub, Snapchat is a hub, Facebook is a hub, Google, Microsoft, all of these tech hubs are having these younger generations come to work for them because there's nothing like a fresh university mind to come and pour energy into your organization. That is what I would love, and I'm sure you all love it too. And when it comes to brands, employers, and institutions, there are things to learn from the older generation that are stable and that work in terms of business and economics, but there are things to learn from the younger generations when it comes to things like innovation, for example. Okay. And institutions that don't adapt will feel it quickly. So you either get prepared or you get left behind in the next decade. The takeaway 2026 success isn't inherited. Most older generations want every single younger generation to experience discipline and hard work. And it is designed for the younger generations to earn their way into places of leadership and respect within management of each person's inheritance space. Gen Z and millennials are proving that ambition and well-being do not compete, they compound. And the future belongs to those who build systems that support both. All right, so that was a fun topic because we all want to know. When I spend time with the younger generation, I'm like, tell me everything about university. Tell me everything about what you're learning. I want to know. I want to keep up with how are the systems changing and evolving over time. Like how is university different now to when I was there? You know, are you learning the same topics? Many people have come to me early on in my career when I was 20 saying, Anik, I love what you do. How can I be a nutritionist? Anik, how can I be a health coach? Anik, how can I be a personal trainer? And I've always given the right resources necessary to build for the next generation because I've always viewed myself in a position to be that sort of mentor. And I was so bombarded with the amount of clients I was having. I was like, yeah, the more of us, the better because the state of the world with the current health systems and the number of sick people, one person is definitely not able to service everyone. So we obviously need technology. We need multiple numbers of coaches. We need several health cafes, clinics. We need doctors. We need surgeons. We need people to be able to diagnose early, have the right recommendations, have the supplement stores, have everything in a system that is fluent and deliverable. And you can make a call and say, hey, I need to be able to have this thing diagnosed and I need a prescription right now, or I need this groceries right now, I need this medicine right now, whether you are an elderly person and you need meals delivered because you can't cook for yourself, or your nurses are more so with the medicals than your chef, or you don't have a chef and a nurse and you need to order meals. You need systems in society that work. And that's where I'm trying to go and build, because it just makes sense to do that. And I think people who don't want to be building this are missing out on a huge opportunity for something that is just a normal, fundamental part of society that, if it's not existing, should exist for the rest of time, because people want to buy things and need the right stuff to buy. So connecting B2C and B2B, these are all important concepts of making sure in the globe of 8 billion people, people are connected in the right way to achieve the right outcome of desire. Because there's nothing worse than having certain desires or needs, and you have the money, money's not an issue, and you need to purchase something, and there's no end to being able to make those purchases that you need of that item. Okay, because that makes no logical sense. And so therefore, if that is in any way a problem in society, that's a priority to be fixed, other than the fundamental layers of basic crime and other stuff around the world that are different endeavors that people are taking on. So when it looks like, okay, generationally, we have people in their 90s alive, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, teens, and the youth under 10s, we have to understand that business and economics on 100-year system has certain rules and regulations and processes required to be able to exist for human existence for all of time, for more efficient systems, processes, and simpler ways of making life better, which everybody wants a better life system. The amount of people I've interviewed who have said this could be better, that could be better. If you can see things that could be better, and it's really that not that difficult to integrate a shift, you would have to be like, I don't even want to use any critical words, but it would be ridiculous to ignore that if you feel bored in your life, for example. Like if you ever feel bored, there's so many problems to solve. So I feel like humans could feel bored from time to time, but if you have stuff to do, solve a problem. Because why not? You know? And yeah, I mean, I just love the younger generation. I love that it brings me anti-aging components. I love learning from them. I'm not sure if the older generation still has this mindset of, well, we're at the top. Anything anyone says who are younger than us not relevant. I'm not sure like how it is around the world, or if people now are considering, okay, well, there's some things that the younger generation speaks on values, some things we want to keep, some things not, and making sure that everyone is well paid for and, good salaries. I'm not sure how the working system has shifted to, yeah, you need to work yourself all the way up to each position and whatnot. And yeah, of course, you need to learn certain skills uh, to be able to hold any position. But once you have the skills and the maturity, then those roles are well deserved and earned to be provided to, I would believe. And anything other than that would be ageist, which is, yeah, unacceptable, I would think. So, I mean, I'm curious to hear how it is shifting around the world in terms of how each generation does view the upcoming generations and profit margins, who are the ones adding the most profitable returns to each organization. Is it still the millennials, and what the generation above millennials are Or is it the younger ones? Or is it that the owners and the bosses are just all the boomers who own all the wealth in the world and they just have their own crew and community, and everyone who's not a boomer is basically basic? Is that still how we're operating? Well, those are my thoughts. Until my next episode, I'm looking forward to that one. So I'm going to that one. Okay, bye.